Oh, hello. We should be working now. This says excellent connection. Can people hear me? Do I sound clicky or fuzzy or anything else? Who have we got available to us? We got not got a lot of people in so far by the looks of it. We got Big Fact Hunt. We got Les Quizarable. We got Tem Titanium. And it looks like people can hear me, and nobody's complaining about buzziness or anything like that. Apparently, I sound great. Fantastic stuff. Now, unfortunately, I have managed to start this on time by the looks of it, which nobody was expecting. So, oh no, that's all right. We've now got our viewers ramping up somewhat, getting our numbers up. So we wouldn't want to have anybody feel like they're left out just because they arrived a little bit late, especially if they were expecting us to be late. But oh, hello, we've got OK Zoomers, we've got Gone Viral. It's all good. And Tent and Quarantinos. Quarantinos. Anyway, and the Mars Singers plus Piggy. Indeed. Okay, so let's belaboredly go through the rules and so on and so forth, what we're doing. As you might be able to tell from the screen, it is now 2021, probably not 2021, that now seems like too much of a mouthful, but anyway, it is now a new year, a new decade, if you're the kind of person that defines your decades in that way, and therefore it is time for the first LCV online pub quiz of the year. As the rhyme at the bottom suggests, it's another year and we're all still here. I keep considering just doing an entire Dr. Zoy style thing where just the whole thing is rhyming, but that seems like a bad plan. So, what are we playing for? We're playing for me to remember to click the thing. There we go. We are playing for the loo roll. Now, I'm pretty sure that message about it being so long that we ordered a whole new box is quite old at this point, but potentially Jess has just got loads of boxes and just nobody's claiming their prizes, which would be terrible. So there we go. And E17 Massive are here. Fantastic. And Thing Quizzy and Quarren Queens. Anyway, we have rules, and the rules are something along these lines. So, first of all, no Googling, by which I mean no reference of any kind. If you don't know the answer, if you can't come up with the answer out of your own brain, out of the brain of somebody in the room with you, assuming that you're not in the room of somebody affiliated with the quiz, then, you don't come up with an answer. Maybe try and come up with a funny answer. That can be useful later. All submitted forms are final. We will say if we can't be bothered to check the subsequent form that you submitted. But that is the default answer, is that they are all final. Points are allocated what we're going to call F1 style. So if you get first place in a round, you get 10 points. Second place gets 9 points, then 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you get 11th place in a round, you get nothing. Also, if you get 10th place in a round, you get nothing. I think that's how maths works. Maybe. No, it's not. Just 11th place. Anyway, be aware that the quiz administrators, the Dark Overlords, known collectively as the Spanish Inquisition, will award discretionary points for hilarious answers. And also, don't be a pain in the arse, because they will also remove discretionary points for lack of hilarity. And speaking of lack of hilarity, we have asked you for teams of not more than 8, but we can't do anything about that. So we're going to have to trust that that is what you are doing, that you have not smuggled extra people into your team. And, if we were to somehow find out about it, we might be able to hold that against you. We'll see how it goes. Oh, who else we got? Got Tenors on Crack. We got Swine Flu. But waiting for Zoe. Oh dear. Right, so while we're here, as ever, we have the Joker. And the Joker is the card that you play, and that you place on the round that you think that you are going to do better than everybody else at. So if you come first in that round, you will get 20 points instead of 10 points. If you come last in that round, you will get 0 points instead of 0 points. So choose your round wisely. As ever, even though it may be your best round, it may not be the round that you are better than everybody else at. So do think about how you're going to do that. However, we do need you to submit your card with the first round. So you won't have seen any of the rounds apart from the first round when you submit your card. So it is always a gamble what it's going to be. But the rounds are, there's a picture round during the break, and that is Lab Rats. The first round, which you will get to see, is Vive la Resolution. The second round is Wake Up Sheeple. Sorry, Wake Up Sheeple. We really need a comma in there. Anyway, round 3, The Future Delivered. Round 4, Child's Play. Round 5, My Chemical Romance. And round 6 is Pandemonium. So, we will not let you know what any of those rounds are apart from that first round. Speaking of which, we've now got over 90 people on. This is good turnout. Apparently, you didn't all get jailed for going for a snowball fight over the weekend. First round, Viva la Resolution. So, this one, I think, I really should have paid more attention when we came up with these. I believe this one's all about diets. Being that it is January, so a lot of people, they're going to be starting new diets as part of their New Year's resolution. So, we have some dieting type questions. Very simple. Just give us the answer to the question. At the end, there will be a recap, so there's no need to go over any of them again. If you do have questions, before we start, I always recommend don't ask the questions that you do have, just give more complete answers. If you've given a very complete answer, then, whatever that question is will be covered by it. Whereas if you ask a question in the chat, that might give people ideas for what the real answer is. And nobody wants that. Because, gamesmanship. Who doesn't love that? So, question 1. Oh, wait, hang on a second. Yeah, screw it. Yes, question 1. So, what is the name of the patented diet on which participants are encouraged to eat a lot of protein but only gradually introduce carbohydrates? Its founder died recently after falling on some ice. He was clinically obese at the time. So we are looking for the patented diet which is lots of protein but not so much on the carbs. And swiftly on to question 2. Why is the 5-2 diet so called? So why would you call that diet the 5-2 diet? And I've just realised I forgot to do a little bit of admin. Of course, if you are a regular, then you know this already. But if you happen to be new, if you happen to have stumbled upon us, then in the description to this video, you will find links to the forms so that you can submit answers. So most of the people that are watching this, that are playing this, they have their team set up in Zoom or House Party or Skype or whatever it is that they're using to communicate with each other. And then they have designated one person to submit their answers via the forms. Please do not submit answers via the live chat. So, and that is also why we have big pauses so people can scream at each other. So, question 3. What did the 1930s diet products Fat Oh No and Fat Off turn out to be? So what were Fat Oh No and Fat Off in fact? And question 4, we have, consuming which parasite became a diet trend at the turn of the 20th century, seemingly enabling people to eat more and weigh less? So, which is the diet parasite? And on to question 5. In 1927, Thomas Short wrote a paper called The Causes and Effects of Corpulence, in which he observed that fat people lived more commonly near one naturally occurring geographical feature. He concluded that to lose weight, people shouldn't live near what? So if you want to lose weight, where should you not live near? And on to question 6, which is what method of weight loss did Elvis try and recommended to others during the 60s? So what was Elvis's recommended method of weight loss during the 60s? And yes, as Jess has pointed out, this round may well lend itself to hilarity points, if you are a hilarious person. Question 7. At one stage in his life, William the Conqueror was too fat to get on his horse. He went on a diet lasting about a year, consuming a liquid diet based mainly on alcohol. But did it work? So, yes or no, did William the Conqueror lose weight on his liquid alcohol diet? And on to number 8. Which well-known icon of popular culture has shares in Weight Watchers? So, which well-known icon of popular culture has shares in Weight Watchers? This is going to be where we find out that somebody in the choir is on like the board of Weight Watchers and happens to know all the major shareholders, and it turns out there's loads of members of popular culture that are doing that. Anyway, what do 1 cup of fresh blueberries, 2 pigs in blankets, and a glass of champagne have in common? So what is the commonality between a cup of fresh blueberries, 2 pigs in blankets, and a glass of champagne? And yes, you're absolutely right, Zoe. They have now rebranded and are just World War. So, that is Weight Watchers are. Number 10, final question for this round. Roughly how many burgers does McDonald's sell worldwide every second? So, every second, on average, roughly how many burgers does McDonald's sell? We'll be asked, do we include fillet of fish? I think the trick here is give us both the answer with and without the fillet of fish, and then you've got all your bases covered. And that should be it. Yes, it is. So you now have 3 minutes. Hopefully this is a recap without answers. Yes, it is. You now have 3 minutes to fill in round one with your answers for round one. The questions are currently on your screen. And don't forget that you also need to tell us which round is going to be your Joker round. So yeah, I will see you in 3 minutes. This is your 1.5 minute warning. "30 seconds remaining. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That is your time. You should now have submitted all of your answers and, of course, which round you would like to nominate as your Joker round. I have the Blockbusters theme tune stuck in my head for some reason. We need to get a theme tune for this pub quiz. Maybe we should put out a competition where lots of people do lots of work for us and then we pay them an exposure. It'd be fun. Anyway, our answers should look something like this. So, the high protein, low carbohydrate diet is, of course, the Atkins diet. The 5-2 diet is because you have 2 days of fasting, or rather a very low calorie diet, and then 5 days of regular eating within your week. Fat O-No and Fat Off turned out to be plain old hand soap. And the dietingist parasite is, of course, tapeworms, which at the time you were able to get in a pill, which is convenience. It is swamps that will cause you to become fat, or at least cause you to fail to diet. And the diet method that Elvis preferred was sedation, which is to say sleeping. Of course, that's probably not a great idea because your metabolism will go down while you're asleep, but, I'm not a doctor, so I shouldn't say that. More to the point, the diet that definitely does work is William the Conqueror's mainly alcohol-based diet, as within a year he was able to ride a horse again. And it is Oprah Winfrey that has a major stake in WW, which was, of course, once known as Weight Watchers. And it turns out that the cup of fresh blueberries, 2 pigs in blankets, and a glass of champagne, apart from being quite a sad Christmas, are all 86 calories or thereabouts. And it is about 75 burgers that McDonald's sells worldwide every second. I'm sure that we'll be allowing some degree of error on that. I don't know what it'll be. That will, of course, be up to the Inquisition. But more importantly, round 2. So, wake up, sheeple. You should have a comma in that. So, this, because, we have recently had an attempted coup in the United States by people that were believing all sorts of interesting conspiracy theories, conveniently joined by neo-Nazis and the like. Let's see how well you know your conspiracy theories. So, much like the last one, you're going to get a load of questions. There's going to be a recap at the end, and then you can submit your answers on the round 2 answer form. This is round 2. So, question 1. Those streams of vapour behind aeroplanes, known as contrails, are sometimes referred to as what by conspiracy theorists, and what are they supposed to control? So despite the lack of extra question mark in there, we do want 2 answers here. One of them is, what do conspiracy theorists call contrails, and what do they think those contrails are controlling? Don't worry, Daggers, if you were way out on the Big Macs when I first read that question, I assumed it would be millions for some reason because I don't understand how numbers work. Now, number 2. In whose assassination conspiracy theory did the grassy knoll feature? So the grassy knoll features in the assassination conspiracy of whom? My apology, I think there may have been an incorrect use of whom. I don't know if whom is correct for the dative. Was that even the dative? I'm very bad at classics. Number 3. Where is Area 51? So where would you find Area 51? As ever, I recommend you be as precise as you can manage. And on to question 4. What is the Eye of Providence, and in what conspiracy does it have significance? So what is the Eye of Providence, and in what conspiracy does it have significance? So once again, this appears to be a 2-part question. So be careful with that. And number 5. Whose non-performance in the 1998 World Cup final was put down to a conspiracy? So, a conspiracy was potentially to blame for whose non-performance in the 1998 World Cup final? What can I say? We do love a sport here at the LCV Online Pub Quiz. Number 6. Which Beatle allegedly died in a car accident in 1966 and has been played by an actor ever since? So, which Beatle allegedly died in a car accident in 1966 and has been covered up? Presumably covered up in both the fooling the public sense and in the large quantities of earth sense. But number 7 is what technology is allegedly tied in with the spread of COVID-19. So COVID-19 is supposedly spread by which technology? Number 8. And what creatures are the royal family supposed to really be under the reptilian conspiracy advocated by David Icke? Oh, was it David Icke? David Icke. Let's call him David Icke. Advocates a reptilian conspiracy theory under which the royal family are what kind of creatures? And number 9. Which horse was allegedly kidnapped by the IRA in 1983? Why is there a space there? We don't know. But anyway, 1983 saw the kidnap of which horse supposedly by the IRA? And finally, for this round, which US president was subject to the debunked birther theory? So the birther theory referred to which US president? And that is all of your questions, and with a bit of luck, that is your recap of those questions. There we go. So with that on the screen, you now have 2 minutes. 2 minutes to submit your answers for round 2. 1 minute to go. Thirty seconds remaining. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That is your time. Hopefully, that is plenty of time for you to have submitted all of your answers. Certainly nobody's complaining in the chat, which means we'll move on and see what those answers should have been. And as ever, I will first click the thing. There we go. And so, contrails are in fact, I'll have you know, chemtrails. Chemical trails, not condensation trails. And of course, they control the weather. The assassination conspiracy theory with the grassy knoll is, of course, JFK, who, I want to say, is that a John Fitzgerald Kennedy? Is that somebody tell me if that's right. I might be wrong. Anyway, whereas what I'm definitely right is that Area 51 is in Nevada. Definitely right because somebody definitely double-checked that. It wasn't me, but I trust them to have done that. The Eye of Providence, and in what conspiracy theory does it have a significance? We've just got Illuminati written there. Presumably, we also wanted to have something along the lines of an eye inside a pyramid and or any time somebody tense their fingers, depending how deep into the conspiracy you are. And let's see. So the non-performance in the 1998 World Cup was by Ronaldo. I tried looking this one up to work out what the conspiracy was, and by the looks of it, there are two opposing conspiracies. One is that somebody drugged Ronaldo to cause him to have a seizure before that match, and the other one is that Nike, if you will, forced him to play despite having just had a seizure. So it's really down to who you believe on that one, or he just had a seizure and decided that he would be good to play. You know, all potentially things. Whereas the person who, the Beatle, who died in 1966, has been played by an actor ever since, was, of course, Paul McCartney. I believe they've rotated actors, by the looks of it, by the time he hit the 2012 Olympics, he was played by a middle-aged woman. And the technology that's allegedly tied in with the spread of COVID-19 is, of course, 5G mobile telephony. And the creatures that royal family are supposedly there we go, according to people such as David, I am now told to pronounce Ike, that would be lizards, and the horse kidnapped by the IRA in 1983 was Sugar, and of course the birth theory was that Barack Obama cannot be president of the United States because he's Irish. So, round 3. The future delivered. Okay, so what you are going to see now are clips from Tomorrow's World. So for people that aren't aware of this, Tomorrow's World was a TV show that ran from, I believe, 1965 to 2003 and has now come back as a banner for documentaries about new technology and so on and so forth. But it used to show people what the technology of the future was. So you're going to get clips from that, and what we want from you is the technology being featured. So, you know, what the clip that you're seeing is on a feature about a particular technology, so we want to know what that technology was, and also what year this clip was originally broadcast in. So in what year were they making these claims or showing off this technology? Okay, so with this one there is no recap, so if by the end you want us to go over any of them again, we will happily go back and do them again. So, here we go. Oh, apparently there appear to be a bunch of controversies going on in the chat, but luckily we have the Inquisition in there, so there we go. Round 3, question 1.
I rather think they're across the other side of the office.
But it shouldn't take me too long to find them. If they're not here, they'll be with a colleague down the corridor. He was expressing considerable interest in a couple of things that we spoke about the last time we had the opportunity of having a chat. Though, thinking about it seriously, I'll bet they're outside the building in the vehicle. So if you'll hold on for just a second...
And on to question 2. Some of these might be a bit quiet. Some of them you might not need sound on at all. But anyway, question 2. And on to question 3.
Early morning, semi-detached, Highgate, London. Industrial consultant Rex Malek feels the business world's pulse from his bedside. Stock prices and market trends are available to him.
And question 4.
But BSB is taking advantage of new technology and using an improved type of television signal called DMAC, which gives better colour pictures than the PAL system we use now. You will be able to watch BSB on any existing set, but to get the full benefit of an improved picture, you'd need one of these newer types of sets, which has got one of these SCART connectors in the back.
And yes, that one was quite quiet, so if you did have trouble hearing it and you needed to hear it, then do let us know so that we can go over it again and you can turn up the volume for it the next time round. Number 5.
This is still just a prototype, and even if it never completely replaces the vacuum cleaner, it might still join the ranks of the dishwasher and the microwave. It's one of those inventions you'll wonder how you ever did without.
Hi.
Hi. Darling, thanks for coming. Listen, you'll have to excuse the mess. I haven't had a minute to tidy up.
And on to number 6.
So that means no matter what kind of record or what kind of player
they can all plug in to a conventional hi-fi system. And I'm sure you'll agree that that is common sense at last. Here then for you is the latest single from the Bee Gees.
Number 7.
Now, it would take pages and pages of writing to describe this in accurate detail to somebody else, and it would take yards and yards of punched tape to tell the computer about it. But with this invention, that is no longer necessary. All I do is show this to the computer, and I can do that by drawing a simple diagram of it on this phosphorescent screen.
And on to number 8.
Because it's interactive as well. Say I was wondering where he got his suit from. It'd not only tell me that, but I can even buy one here and now via the inevitable home shopping option. Armani, fancy that.
Okay, so let's see. We've been asked specifically for 1, 2, 3, 7, and this one again. We've also been asked for all of them again. If we get another call for all of them again, then we will do all of them again. Otherwise, we'll just do the specifically identified ones. Number 9.
50 yards, turn right at T-junction. 175 yards, turn left at Crossroads. 200 yards, straight on at traffic lights.
Now that's what I call a really good navigator, a clear, precise instruction, given in plenty of time for me to position myself in the road so that I can negotiate the hazard or the change of direction with the utmost convenience.
And finally, number 10.
Take me home, Fritz, and don't spare the rubber.
Okay, so we've had enough requests that I think we will just smash through all of them again very quickly. I will mention at this point, it's possible that not all of these technologies ended up coming to fruition, certainly not exactly as described. So, number 1 again. If I can find it. There we go.
Rather think they were across the other side of the office.
But it shouldn't take me too long to find them. If they're not here, they'll be with a colleague down the corridor. He was expressing considerable interest in a couple of things that we spoke about the last time we had the opportunity of having a chat. Though, thinking about it seriously, I'll bet they're outside the building in the vehicle. So if you'll hold on for just a second...
Now, I do believe there will be some leeway on the year, so if you don't get it exactly right, we may still give you a point. As ever, that is going to be up to the Inquisition. Number 2. Number 3.
Early morning, semi-detached, Highgate, London. Industrial consultant Rex Malik feels the business world's pulse from his bedside. Stock prices and market trends are available to him.
Now, I believe number 4 was particularly quiet, so if you do want to turn your volume up for this one, now would be the time to do it.
But BSB is taking advantage of new technology and using an improved type of television signal called DMAC, which gives better colour pictures than the PAL system we use now. You will be able to watch BSB on any existing set, but to get the full benefit of an improved picture, you'd need one of these newer types of sets, which has got one of these SCART connectors in the back.
And on to the hotly awaited number 5.
This is still just a prototype, and even if it never completely replaces the vacuum cleaner, it might still join the ranks of the dishwasher and the microwave. It's one of those inventions you'll wonder how you ever did without.
Hi.
Hi. Darling, thanks for coming. Listen, you'll have to excuse the mess. I haven't had a minute to tidy up.
On to number 6.
So that means no matter what kind of record or what kind of player, they can all plug in to a conventional hi-fi system. And I'm sure you'll agree that that is common sense at last. Here then for you is the latest single from the Bee Gees.
And number 7.
Now, it would take pages and pages of writing to describe this in accurate detail to somebody else, and it would take yards and yards of punched tape to tell the computer about it. But with this invention, that is no longer necessary. All I do is show this to the computer, and I can do that by drawing a simple diagram of it on this phosphorescent screen.
Number 8.
Because it's interactive as well. Say I was wondering where he got his suit from. It'd not only tell me that, but I can even buy one here and now via the inevitable home shopping option. Armani, fancy that.
Number 9.
50 yards, turn right at T-junction. 175 yards, turn left at Crossroads. 200 yards, straight on at traffic lights.
Now that's what I call a really good navigator. A clear, precise instruction given him plenty of time for me to position myself in the road so that I can negotiate the hazard or the change of direction with the utmost convenience.
And finally, number 10.
Take me home, Fritz, and don't spare the rubber.
And that is all of your questions. So it is now time to submit your answers. You have 2 minutes, once again, to submit those answers. One minute to go. Did I forget to unmute for the 30-second warning? Let's call this your 30-second warning. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That should be all of your answers in. To Emma, who's asking how accurate we want the years to be, I'm guessing if it turns out everybody's wrong, we'll start amplifying the error window on it, but we'll see how that one goes. So, what should the answers have been? Well, let's find out. Unless I've clicked the wrong button, in which case we won't. Boom, there we go. Okay, so the first one was, of course, the mobile phone, and that was what 1979 thought that the mobile phone would look like. And, of course, 20 years later, ER still had people walking down corridors with just beepers, not phones. Number 2, that was the plastic garden, or I think we would have given a point for AstroTurf. And, of course, that was in 1968 that, of course, everyone in the city would get themselves an AstroTurf garden so that they could vacuum it instead of having to mow it. The home computer is what you saw in 1967 for question 3. Not the internet. The internet doesn't come about for another 2 years at that point. At this point, it is just everyone trying to log into the same computer many miles away. And apparently, if you watch the rest of that, even a 4-year-old can use it as long as he has his dad shouting at him. Then we had the satellite TV. That was in 1989 that B-Sky B were telling us that we would have a square dish and use a DMAC signal, both of which did not happen in the slightest, but satellite TV did. The robot vacuum cleaner is what you saw on number 5 there, of course made by Electrolux, who you would expect to make robot vacuum cleaners, and presented by just the terrible saucepot that was Philippa Forrester, and that was in 1996. Number 6 was, of course, the compact disc. or the CD, if you will, and that was in 1981 that they were showing us how great the interoperability of compact disc standards would be. Whereas in 1967, we were seeing a light pen, or rather a touch screen, whichever way you want to see it, or whichever way it wants to see you, being demonstrated there so as to easily input the dimensions of a wedge. The common thread in a lot of these is actually that things are much more difficult than whatever they are telling you that they are. Except for, of course, the information superhighway, which you saw in 1994, where they'll give you points for video on demand is, of course, up to the Inquisition, but that was certainly what in 1994 they thought that we would soon be doing on our TVs and on our internet connections, at least once we got fibre optic, is what they said. And of course, the navigation that was happening in 1971 wasn't satellite navigation, because the GPS satellites wouldn't go up until much later that decade. It was, of course, cassette navigation, where you would have a tape that told you where to go. As you might imagine, that was completely useless. And finally, in 1990, sticking with our cars, we had a self-parking car. Earlier in that clip, you would have seen a Volkswagen representative failing to use the self-parking car and having to drive off and come back in to reset it. So all of these wonderful things to watch. If you did particularly like the clip 5 one, Philippa Forrester does spend the majority of that clip in a towel, so you may want to look it up. Anyway, it is now time for the break. So, during the break, it is worth knowing that at the end of round 4, we will ask you, round 4 being the next round after the break, we will ask you to submit both your round 4 answers and your picture round answers, and you will find the picture for the picture round by going to bit.ly/LScienceV. That is the word science with an L at the front and a V at the end, all lowercase, all one word. That will possibly download a picture, so if it doesn't open up immediately for you, go look in your downloads folder or wherever it is that your downloads end up. We should also warn you that in our final break before the final scores, we will be asking you as a team to give us a 2021 themed limerick. So if you get bored of looking at pictures of lab rats, that is, say, of scientists, as are in the picture round, then maybe you'll want to come up with limericks. Keep in mind that one of the Inquisition is in fact an English teacher, so we're probably caring more about form than we are about content. But there we go. So we now have 10 minutes for you to take a break as well as to download those picture rounds. Right, so our 10 minutes are up, and I just realised, of course, that as ever I have neglected to get myself on the camera, so allow me to don my hat. And hello, this is me on the camera. How is everybody doing? So for people that are new to the quiz, we do this because I need to refresh the slides as we go into the scores. Because they do not refresh themselves while I'm using them, which is annoying of them, and I really wish they would do that. But yeah, so we've had a comment saying that there's a problem with the pictures round, in that apparently our education does not show us enough about female scientists, and of course, you know, the whole point of that picture round is to celebrate the scientists that are doing so much to develop vaccines and so on and so forth, and to communicate why we should be taking these vaccines, because they are good for us and will hopefully cause some sort of herd immunity of the good kind, that will mean that we don't have to be in lockdown anymore. But yeah, and of course the problem is not necessarily so much about the lack of visibility of female scientists in education, though that is of course there, but also that of course women have not been allowed to practice science often. Sometimes they were allowed to practice science, but only as technicians, which means that somebody else gets the credit. Something like that. Either way, there are many less opportunities for women to become illustrious and well-known scientists. There is some thought that the first ever scientist was in fact a woman, and a herbalist, apothecary type situation or something like that. No, we're talking about science here, not grammar. It's less, not fewer. So there we go. Now I'm told that we are now done, so let's have a look. Do I see scores? I do see scores. I see 3 pages of scores. See, this is what happens when I'm actually paying attention, and I can actually see how many pages of scores we've got before I go into the scores, and that makes life much easier for everybody involved, and makes it look like I'm actually good at my job. So here we go. Let's see what the scores are looking like coming out of the break. So, at the bottom of the pack, we have Just the Two of Us on 8, and the Walthamstow Wonders on 9. The No-Brainers on 13, Quarren Queens on 14, Wine Flu on 16, Oscars Fangirls on 17, Thin Quizzy on 18, The Mars Singers and Big Fact Hunt on 19. So, middle of the pack is Titanium and tonight's winners are on 20. Now, there's all still to play for, of course. Not necessarily everyone's done their jokers, so you never know what might happen. Names that seem silly now might seem very appropriate later. Zombie McZombieface on 21, Gone Viral on 22, Double Trouble on 23, Les Quizarable and E17 Massive both on 24. And leading the pack, we have Tenors on Crack and Frankie and Friends on 25, OK Zoomers on 26, Cabin Fever Frenzy on 27, and joint first, we have Tent and Quarantinos and Quiz on My Face. So, that's how it looks at the moment. How will it look after round 4? You're not going to find out. You're going to find out how it looks after round 7. But round 4 is what's coming up now. And round 4 is Child's Play, which, as it says there, is all questions taken from Year 6 homeschooling activities. Now, if you're like me and you went to the kind of school which didn't have a Year 6, this is your 4th year of primary school, the year before you go into big school and or secondary school, whatever you want to call it. So these will be multiple choice, so it's going to be that much easier. So, question 1. From Key Stage 2 History, how many months were there in an Aztec calendar? Were there 6, 12, 18 or 24? So how many months were there in an Aztec calendar? And I should remind you at this point that at the end of this round we will want not just the round 4 answers but also the picture round answers, so you'll want to have those both ready. But number 2 is Key Stage 2 Science. The lens focuses images onto what at the back of the eye? Is it the retina, the pupil, the eyelashes, or the cornea? So the lens focuses images onto what at the back of the eye? And then number 3, from Key Stage 2 RE, Religious Education, what is a Buddhist place of worship called? Is it a church, a gurdwara, a temple, or a vihara? So, what is a Buddhist place of worship called? And I accidentally forgot to set my stopwatch, so we'll assume that's time. And number 4, from DT, from Design Technology, which item does not use gears? Is it a clock, an oven, a bicycle, or a car? So from Key Stage 2 Design Technology, which item does not use gears? I knew this one would be too vaguely worded. Anyway, number 5. Key Stage 2 Geography. Which type of tree grows just below the timberline of a mountain? So, coniferous, deciduous, tropical, or oak? Which type of tree grows just below the timberline of a mountain? Then number 6, from Key Stage 2 PE, from Physical Education, which of these is not a type of cricket bowler? Is it an off spinner, a leg spinner, an arm spinner, or a fast bowler? So which of these is not a type of cricket bowler? On to number 7. From Key Stage 2 Citizenship, how is a new law made in the UK? And this one's got quite a bit to it. So first of all, the police write to newspapers to let everyone know they have a new law. Or B, members of Parliament debate about new laws and then vote whether to introduce it or not. Then C, the Queen comes on the TV to let us know she has made a new law. Or D, the Prime Minister just makes a new law when he feels like it. So how is a new law made in the UK? Okay, and then number 8. So from Key Stage 2 PSHE, is that? I can never work out if the S is social or sexual. Either way, it's public and health education. Why is it even public? I may have gotten wrong all these years. Anyway, why is dairy important in our diet? There are 2 points available here, which means you pick 2 of. It helps make our hair grow, it helps us to breathe, it helps make our bones strong, or it gives us energy. And we'll not have any answers from round 1. Is it round 1 that had the conspiracies? No, it was round 2, from round 2. Anyway, no, these are answers that we want in from the Key Stage 2 rubric to why is dairy important in our diet. No, personal social health doesn't sound right at all. I'm going to go with what I said. Number 9. Key Stage 2 Art and Design. Salvatore Ferragamo famously designed what? Hats, gloves, shoes, or skirts? So Salvatore Ferragamo famously designed what? And finally, don't worry, there will be a recap screen. Finally, question 10 is from Key Stage 2 ICT, that is Information and Communication Technology. Which of these does an interactive whiteboard or touchscreen device allow? Input only, output only, input and output, or neither input nor output? So, which of these does an interactive whiteboard or touchscreen device allow? Did I notice that typo earlier when I was checking through the questions and not bother correcting it because I wanted to say output? We will never know. Instead, we have 3 minutes to submit your answers, as well as to submit your answers not only to round 4 but also to the picture round. So 3 minutes. And our options for question 10 were input, output, input and output, or neither input nor output. We have 1.5 minutes remaining. I'm going to quickly skip back to question 8 so you can see the potential answers. 30 seconds remaining. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. There is that enough maths for you, Gemma. Okay, so you should have all of your answers in, both for round 4 and for the picture round, but it is just the round 4 answers that we are now going to get to see. So let's see what they should have been. And first up, so the amount of months in an Aztec calendar was 18, because there were 365 days in 1 year divided into 18 months of 20 days, and there was a spare 5 days which were thought to be unlucky. I should point out at this point that I am assured that this marking rubric is exactly as you would see it in a real school, where the first few have interesting explanatory notes, the middle lot get a bit snarky about it, and then at the end of it they just give you the answer with no explanation because people are getting bored. So number 2. The lens focuses images onto the back of the eye, which is the retina. And the retina is a group of cells that are sensitive to light. They send messages along the optic nerve to the brain, which forms an image. And for religious education, the Buddhist place of worship is a vihara. Vihara is the name for a Buddhist monastery. They were originally built as shelters for wandering monks. And, of course, design technology, if you're not putting the effort in, then an oven will not use gears, unless, presumably, a kebab oven. Does that count as an oven? Does that? Surely. But either way, that generates heat rather than movement. For geography, it is coniferous trees that are better able to withstand the cold climates higher up on the mountainside. At the timberline, of course, above the timberline is where trees will no longer grow because it's too cold, I believe. And the type which is not a type of cricket bowler is an arm spinner. That's a baseball pitcher. And for citizenship, a new law is made when members of Parliament debate about new laws and then vote whether to introduce it or not. Apparently, not sure if anyone's told Parliament that. But anyway, dairy is important to our diet, if you believe the dairy industry, for bones and energy. Salvatore Ferragamo famously designed shoes, and an interactive whiteboard or a touchscreen device allow both input and output. So there we go. And there we go. So now, as ever, although we may have all sorts of answers going on, if we've got a key stage 2 rubric that is official from the government, then that is what we will be using. You may complain to your local exam board. Speaking of complaining, round 5, My Chemical Romance. This is, of course, science music. So, as ever with the music rounds, you are going to hear 10 clips, one after the other, with about 3 seconds between them for you to quickly shout at each other. You are then going to get a break of maybe 30 seconds, and then you're going to hear them all again. Now, all of these are either going to be songs that are in some way about science, if you really think about it, or that are made by people or bands with people in them who could be called scientists in some way. So, we will want the title of the song, and we will want the act performing the song.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6.
Don't know much about history. Don't know much biology. Don't know much about a science book. Don't know much about the French I took.
And you've shown me how I must learn to deal with this disease. I'll look at things now in a different light than I did before. And I find the cause, and I think that you can be my cure.
Your mind's flying blind with your head and your face getting red and your heart beats closer. You fall
the time I've known you, I still don't know what you mean. The weekend at the college didn't turn out like you planned. The things that pass for knowledge I can't understand.
I'm very well acquainted too with matters mathematical. I understand equations both for simple and quadratical. About binomial theorem, I'm teeming with a lot of news. Lot of news. Got it. With many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse.
With many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. With many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. With many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse.
Backbone don't exist. Born on side a jellyfish, I gauge. See my pedigree, most definitely don't tolerate the front. Shit I been through probably offend you. This is Paula's oldest son. I know murder, conviction, burners, boosters, burglars, ballers, dead, redemption, scholars, fathers dead with kids, and I wish I was fed forgiveness.
Chipping around, keep my brains on the floor. These are the days it never rains, but it falls.
Okay, let's hear those again, shall we?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6.
Don't know much about history. Don't know much biology. Don't know much about a science book. Don't know much about the French I took.
And you've shown me how I must learn to deal with this disease. I'll look at things now in a different light than I did before, and I find the cause, and I think that you can be my cure.
Your mind's flying blind with your head and your face getting red and your heart beats closer. You fall on your knees and the key gets your beat says you need, and the beat gets closer.
I see my Mary Ann walking
since you were 17. In all the time I've known you, I still don't know what you mean. The weekend at the college didn't turn out like you planned. The things that pass for knowledge I can't understand.
I'm very well acquainted too with matters mathematical. I understand equations both for simple and quadratical. About binomial theorem, I'm teeming with a lot of news. Lot of news. Got it. With many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse.
With many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. With many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. With many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse.
Backbone don't exist. Born on side a jellyfish, I gauge. See my pedigree, most definitely don't tolerate the front. Shit I been through probably offend you. This is Paula's oldest son. I know murder, conviction, burners, boosters, burglars, ballers, dead, redemption, scholars, fathers dead with kids, and I wish I was fed forgiveness.
Chipping around, keep my brains on the floor. These are the days it never rains, but it falls.
Okay, because I'm feeling generous, being that we have a team that somehow, as an entirety, are failing to get the first one over and over again. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to count it in this time, so you've got no excuse not to hear it. So, 6, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and...
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6.
Okay, so that was it. You now have 3 minutes to submit your answers. This is your 1.5 minute warning and your friendly reminder that we are expecting both your answers for round 4 and for the picture round by the end of this. Wait, are we? No, I think we've already had that. I'm an idiot. Never mind. Round 5. I repeat, round 5 is what you're submitting now. .30 seconds remaining. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That should be all of your answers for round 5 in, and they should look something like this.
Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, baby.
And all the girlies say I'm pretty fly.
For a white guy.
He needs some cool tunes, not just any will suffice. But they didn't have ice cubes, so he bought vanilla ice.
So that was Pretty Fly brackets for a White Guy by The Offspring, the frontman of which, of course, now has a PhD in, I believe it is molecular biology, and has made important contributions to the study of HIV. Number 2.
Well, I do know 1 and 1 is 2. And if this one could be with you, what a wonderful world this would be.
And that is, of course, Sam Cooke's Wonderful World, which came out almost a decade before Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World, which is a different song, though potentially you'll be allowed if you did What a in brackets. Or maybe we'll just allow What a Wonderful World as well. Once again, it's entirely up to how much the Inquisition likes you, as with all things Inquisition related. Number 3. And that video taken from Terry Christian's own YouTube account. Now, there is a dirty secret here in that, of course, we use D-Ream because Brian Cox was their keyboardist, but in fact he was not their keyboardist when Things Can Only Get Better came out, so it is very difficult to find a contemporary video of him playing the keyboards for that song, mostly because D-Ream is actually just the front man and everybody else was his live band. Number 4. And that was Biology by Girls Aloud, and of course that involved Cheryl Tweedy. Was she cold by then? I'm not sure. I don't know the timeline on these things. Just completely phoning in that choreography. Just everyone else putting in the effort, and her not. Anyway, number 5. So, the architects behind Boston, although obviously the front man, but once again one of these people that basically made the whole album himself, he is in fact an engineer as well, who made a series of amplifiers and pedals and the such. Number 6.
Weird science, fantasy and microchips, shooting from the hip, something different will make it. Weird science, pictures from a magazine, diagrams and charts, mending broken hearts and making weird science.
And that was Jack Skellington's singing voice himself, Danny Elfman in Oingo Boingo, doing the theme tune to Weird Science, also called Weird Science. Number 7.
Are you reeling in the years? Storing away the time? Are you gathering up the tears? Have you had enough of mine?
And that was Reeling in the Years by Steely Dan, one of their guitarists. I couldn't tell you which because there's millions of them, but it was one of the ones that should have been in this song. He, I believe, is now a consultant on ballistics and missiles for the US military. Apparently he got that job by having a chat with a neighbour at one point, and then somehow it all fell together because, you know, that's how things worked at some point. Number 8.
I'm very good at integral and differential calculus. I know the scientific names of beings, animalculus. In short, it matters vegetable, animal, and mineral. I am the very model of a modern major general.
In short, it matters vegetable, animal, and mineral. He is the very model of a modern major general.
And that was, of course, I Am the Very Model of a Modern Major General. If we're being kind, we will allow the Major General song, or the Modern Major General song, from Pirates of Penzance. If you wanted to be precise with it, it was George Rose playing the Major General in the 1983 film version. And though it was called Pirates of Penzance, it was actually a film version of Pirates, the 1980s revival of Pirates of Penzance. So lots of bonus points that we probably won't give you if you knew all of that. Number 9.
Yeah, that's him again. The sound that engine in is like a bird. You see fireworks and Corvette tires skirt the boulevard. I know how you work. I know just who you are. See, use a bitch. Your hormones probably switch inside your DNA. Problem is, all that sucker shit inside your DNA.
And that was DNA by Kendrick Lamar, and of course it was Kendrick Lamar doing all the voice there, but it was Don Cheadle in the video that was doing half of it. Luckily it wasn't a grime star, otherwise he may have nosed it right up on the accent. Number 10.
This is our last dance. This is our last dance. This is ourselves. Under pressure.
And And that was Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie, which gives us a double whammy of scientist, and that Brian May is well known to now be Dr. Brian May, an astrophysicist. But you may not be so aware that James Deacon, is it James Deacon or John Deacon? Either way, Deacon, as it will appear on the in the sleeve, was also an electronic engineer. So where Brian May built his guitar out of a mantelpiece, it was Deacon that got all the pedal and the amplification chain out of a skip and put it together. So very ghetto band indeed. And yes, I dare say that we'll probably give some sort of points for saying Gilbert and Sullivan did Pirates of Penzance. Not Gilbert O'Sullivan, completely different thing. But there we go. And John Deacon, I was right. Fantastic. So that was everything for that. Round 6 is Pandemonium. Because, it was important for various reasons that we have around relating to pandas. So, as ever, this is just going to be questions and answers. We will have a recap at the end. So here we go. Number 1. So, panda car refers to any small UK car, but where does the term originate with regards to cars? So, where does the term panda car originate? On to number 2. What is an R number in a pandemic? Or presumably any sort of outbreak, but what is an R number in a pandemic? Sorry, I completely botched the stress on that. It is what is an R number in a pandemic? Number 3. How did the Spanish flu get its name? So where did the Spanish flu get its name from? Number 4. What animal is sometimes referred to as a trash panda? So what animal is sometimes referred to as a trash panda? On to number 5. And who did not pander to the pomp and ceremony of the presidential inauguration by turning up dressed informally in a winter jacket and mittens? So who turned up to the presidential inauguration in a winter jacket and mittens? Number 6 is when Greek goddess Pandora opened her box, actually a jar, all the world's evils escaped. What remained in the box or jar? So what remained in Pandora's box or jar? Number 7 is who said he would rather eat the last panda if I could have all the money we have spent on panda conservation put back on the table for me to do more sensible things with. So who was it that said all of that about eating the last panda? On to number 8. That is, who voiced the character of Po in the 2008 animation Kung Fu Panda? So, Kung Fu Panda's Po was voiced by whom? And number 9. Sometimes you see a panda upside down against a tree. What might they be doing? So what would a panda be doing if they were upside down against a tree? And finally we have number 10. And it is where, in April 2020, did a couple of pandas take advantage of lockdown privacy to mate for the first time in 10 years? So, where did a couple of pandas mate for the first time in 10 years? Okay, and that is all of your questions, and those questions were these. And you now have 3 minutes to submit your answers for round 6 for the final round. 3 minutes. This is your 1.5 minute warning. 30 seconds remaining. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That is your time. So, by the looks of it, we've got people already getting their excuses in. Gah. But let's see what your answers should have looked like. So, a panda car was first used to refer to black police cars with panels that have been painted white to increase their visibility. And our number is the reproduction number. So, a 1, I believe, means that each person that gets it will give it to one other person, whereas 1.5 means they'll give it to 1.5 other people, and so on. And the Spanish flu got its name because only Spain reported on it due to censorship of the press in other countries during World War I. So, as you see, global pandemics have a history of fake news going on. Trash pandas are raccoons. And the person that was not feeling the burn at all that day was, of course, Bernie Sanders, who turned up in a big old winter coat and some mittens that had been handmade by one of his constituents who would like people to know that she does not make mittens for a living and will not be able to make any for anybody else. Pandora's box had hope still left in it. I still don't understand if that means that there is no hope in the world, or if you need to find Pandora's box to get hope. Maybe there's more to the story that I didn't understand. Either way, the point is that Chris Packham wants to eat every last panda. Speaking of pandas, Jack Black played the Kung Fu Panda himself, Po, and it turns out that if a panda is upside down by a tree, he may well, or she, may well be peeing, possibly only one or the other. I really should have looked into how the mechanics of that one particular one works, but I'm sure that now that the quiz is mostly over, you will feel free to Google pandas peeing upside down, and maybe you will see one of the 2 frisky pandas from Hong Kong, who were only frisky by the sounds of it in April 2020. And there we go. That is all of our questions and answers. But actually, no, there's one set of answers that we haven't had yet, and that is our picture round answers, which look something like this. And there we go. So that first one, probably the hardest one I would have thought, is Grace Hopper, famous computer scientist for the US Navy, and also invented a few programming languages. Charles Darwin is our second one there. The third one is the all-new face of Patrick Moore, that is Maggie Adder in Pocock. Then that is a young Albert Einstein on the right there. Rosalind Franklin is so good, we showed her twice. And of course, she is the person that did all the legwork on discovering DNA, which then I believe it's Watson and Crick took all the credit for. And then Jonathan Van Tam is, of course, the person that is helping to orchestrate our COVID response. Ada Lovelace, if Charles Babbage had ever actually made a working computer, Ada Lovelace would have been the person that made the code to run on it. Neil deGrasse Tyson is, of course, is he the president of the Hayden Planetarium in New York and a noted astrophysicist. Speaking of which, Brian Cox, also noted astrophysicist, as well as he is the keyboardist for both D-Ream and I think the other band is called Dare, I want to say. And then finally you have Alan Turing, a noted mathematician and computer scientist, kind of invented computer science as we know it, along with a couple of others. And there we go. So those are our famous lab rats. And now we have another break. So we have 10 minutes where you can do whatever you want to do. But maybe the thing that you want to do is put some 2021 themed limericks in the chat. Of course, this is all to keep you busy while we mark all of the rounds that have been submitted. So there are no points for this one. But you never know. You may get kudos for the limericks that you put down. As I said before, we do have an English teacher in our ranks, so it will be important to get the structure correct. Otherwise, do whatever it is that you need to do over the next 10 minutes. Okay, so it's now been over 10 minutes, but as you might be able to tell if you are paying attention to the chat, we might be looking at a tie-break situation. So allow me to explain what happens at this point. So first of all, what's going to happen is that the Inquisition, they're going to be going through all of the rounds and double-checking the marks that they have given. So that might just be, a basic make sure that they have done the right things, but also it might be possibly being a bit more or less generous, making sure that they've been consistent with their generosity, that kind of thing. Otherwise, potentially, they might decide to just use the limericks as their tiebreaker if somebody's done a particularly good one, but more likely what's going to happen is we're going to get ourselves a tiebreaker question. For people that haven't done this before, and what that means is that we are going to show you a tiebreaker question, and then somebody on the team, as quickly as possible, you're going to have to pick a representative, if you will, is going to have to write in the chat what the answer to that tiebreaker question is, and whoever gets it out of those tied teams then wins the entire thing, wins the whole loo roll, if you will. Now, of course, we've been having lots of fun with the limericks. Lots of good limericks in there. One that we've had to disqualify for not being to do with 2021. And I mean, halfway through, the official line seemed to be that it was Wine Flu that was going to win it. And indeed, it was a good one. It was relevant both to the choir and to the year. Personally, I liked Morgan's first effort. I thought that worked very well in a meta kind of way. But there we go. So we're just waiting to see what else happens. Now, we did have some questions earlier about how the marking works. I think Wine Flu were the people that were suggesting that they were having trouble with the marking. But their limerick suggests that they understand fully how the marking works. But there we go. So let's have a look at what... Let's see. I'm being told that officially the best limerick was, in fact, Zoe and Team, which I believe is Wine Flu. So that would make it. So now it's the year 21, the year to say COVID is gone. There's clearly an onus to give us a bonus, so long as we beat Richard Swan. Now, I do believe that we had at least one more from somebody in Wine Flu. I might be wrong. Oh, no, wait, there. Yes, we have. There was a quiz team called Wine Flu. This Thursday we hadn't a clue. We drank lots of wine and thought we'd done fine, but turns out we'd done panda poo. Personally, I appreciate the callback to earlier rounds. I think, it shows, that they were really paying attention throughout. It shows a little bit of appreciation for the effort that goes into the quiz. But there we go. So it seems like we're going to get a tiebreaker. And I'm going to very soon find out if that tiebreaker is just going to be done entirely in the chat or if we're making slides for it. And the Inquisition can let me know either in the chat or they can let me know in Messenger, whichever way they prefer to let me know that information. We apparently have scores. Are we going to have a tiebreaker slide at the end of those scores, or are we going to have it elsewhere? Actually, I can probably find out by looking at it myself. So I see scores. I see 3 pages of scores, and I do see the question on there as well. So we are ready to roll. So I'm going to switch over to the whole thing. And here we go. Right, so the scores. We have 3 pages of these. So at the bottom of the pack, we have just the 2 of us on 23. Be kind, there's only 2 of them. The Walthamstow Wonders on 27. Quarren Queens on 36. The No Brainers on 43. The Masked Singers on 47. Wine Flu, Thin Quizzy, and Oscars Fangirls all on 51. Tenting Quarantinos and tonight's winners are on 56. Then, middle of the pack, we have Tenors on Crack on 57, Quiz on My Face on 58, Double Trouble and Big Fact Hunt on 59, E17 Massive and Cabin Fever Frenzy on 65, which means The frontrunners are as follows. We have Titanium on 66, Gone Viral on 66, Zombie McZombieface nicely on 69, Frankie and Friends almost there on 71, but then we have OK Zoomers and Les Quizerables tied for first place on 73. So, OK Zoomers and Les Quizerables, be ready with your nominee, somebody with their fingers in the chat, if you will, ready to submit your answer to the following question. As soon as you see it, you can answer it. Whoever gets the correct answer first gets the win. So I'm going to say probably, whoever gets, or is it whoever gets closest? It's going to be up to them to figure it out. But anyway, here we go. The tie-break question is on the next slide. You will answer in the chat as soon as you can. How many bathrooms are there in the White House? Answer in the chat in 3, 2, 1, and go. So, of course, I'm going to have to wait about 10 seconds because there is a lag on this. I know what the answer is. We have a 22, we have a 14. Now, the question is, are the Inquisition going to ask for another attempt, or are they going to give it to the person who is closest? Let's see what the Inquisition says. So, Les Quizerables have said 22. OK Zoomers have said 14. It is the closest that's going to win it. And the answer is, I know what it is, and it's 35, which means that Les Quizerables have won this week. They've started the year as they mean to go on because it's all a massive fix. There we go. Congratulations, Les Quiz. Everybody always happy when they win the quiz. There we go. So, that's it. We will see you in February for fists, apparently. So, there we go. We have now committed ourselves to a February one. So, this will be lots of fun. We hope to see you there. And by the sounds of it, according to the government, we will still be in lockdown. So, where else are you going to be? So, thank you very much for attending. We hope you've had as much fun as we have. And we will see you next month.